Rich Homie Quan unfortunately passed away on September 5th, 2024. And now we gotta ask, what effect is that gonna have on the pending case against Young Thug? Hi, I'm Rochelle and I'm a lawyer. Even though I'm a lawyer, I'm not your lawyer. And this video is purely for entertainment purposes. This is not legal advice. Today we're going to talk about the untimely death of Rich Homie Quan. Last Thursday we learned that Rich Homie Quan unfortunately passed away, and it is believed that his death was due to an overdose on controlled substances, though they're still waiting on the autopsy to confirm if that is in fact the reason for his passing.
What was your biggest issue at that time?
Yeah, Molly. I was on that Molly like every day, bro.
You weren't a lean guy as much?
Yeah.
Lean at Molly.
But I still silk, you know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying, like Molly had me gone, bro. I was like on Molly, like them rich gang days, like I was on Molly probably like 2 years straight, like every day. Like I'm taking Molly before I go brush my teeth.
Jeez.
Many people are asking, what effect is Rich Homie Quan's passing gonna have on this pending Young Thug trial? As I'm sure many of you know, Rich Homie Quan and Young Thug were part of the Rich Gang album done by Brian Birdman Williams back in 2013 and 2014. They recorded the song Lifestyle together. The song Lifestyle was a very popular song, and at one point it was actually played during this Young Thug trial. Rich Homie Quan's name has come up numerous times in the course of this trial thus far, and the prosecution has had Rich Homie Quan's name listed on the witness list.
Young, you said nothing I say can be used against me?
That's right.
Me and Threat shot up Rich Homie Quan Dad at the barbershop on Bankhead. I don't know what happened with Threat and Rich Homie Quan, but I'm going to ride with my brother. And they was beefing. And yeah, we put up and did that. Okay.
And so now the question is, now that Rich Homie Quan has passed away, unfortunately, is that going to have any effect on the outcome of this trial? And, are any statements that he has made, will they be admitted against the defendants in this case? So we, of course, are going to turn to the law. So because of Rich Homie Quan's passing, any statement that he made will be considered hearsay. So hearsay is an out-of-court statement offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. Generally, hearsay is inadmissible evidence unless it falls within an exception to the hearsay rule. So hearsay exceptions in Georgia are controlled by Georgia Code Section 24-8-804. And what we will look specifically at is the section about the unavailability of a witness. So there are many different instances where a witness can become unavailable, but in this case, we will be looking at what happens when a witness becomes unavailable due to death. And so there are 5 scenarios where a person who has become unavailable because of their death, their statements that they've made previously could potentially be entered as admissible evidence in a case in Georgia. And so the first instance is when the deceased person has already given testimony under oath in a legal proceeding, and the person who the evidence is being brought in against had the opportunity to ask the witness questions at that other legal proceeding. So as an example, let's say that I, am suing Kermit the Frog in, a civil case, and Miss Piggy dies before the case goes to trial. But before the case went to trial, I had an opportunity to take what's known as a deposition, where you ask a person questions about, the subject matter of the lawsuit. So if I got a chance to take the deposition of Miss Piggy and ask her a whole lot of questions, and Kermit's attorney had a chance to also ask Miss Piggy questions, if I later wanted to bring in Miss Piggy's testimony because she unfortunately passed away, the court would allow me to do that because, Kermit, who I'm bringing this lawsuit against, he had a chance to, ask his own questions of Miss Piggy and kind of really probe into her testimony, right? And the reason for this is because, okay, so that's exception number one. So in this case, how this would apply is if Rich Homie Quan had given a deposition or had his testimony under oath, and the defense had the opportunity to ask Rich Homie Quan questions while he was placed under oath and develop, whatever testimony they might need to defend their case. And so if that hasn't happened, then that exception would not apply. Based upon what we know thus far, Rich Homie Quan was not deposed at all in connection with this incident. So it's likely that this exception to the hearsay rule would not apply. The next exception to the hearsay rule is in a prosecution for homicide, if the deceased person made a statement while on their deathbed and they give a statement about what the cause of their death. So in this particular example, it's when someone says, such and such shot me, or I was hit by the green truck. And then the person, may, they're no longer alive. In that instance, if I made a statement saying, the green truck hit me, or if I said, such and such shot me, then that statement made while I believe that I'm going to die about the circumstances of my death would be admissible under this hearsay exception. Based upon our understanding of the cause of death of Rich Homie Quan, it does not appear that this exception would apply because it's believed that he, unfortunately overdosed on drugs and he was found unresponsive. So don't think that this exception would apply. The third exception to the hearsay rule is a statement against the person's interest. So that means that a person would not make this kind of a statement if they did not believe it were true. I owe Kermit the Frog $1 million because he loaned me the money. A person wouldn't say that, it would be against my interest to say that I owed Kermit the Frog $1 million if it wasn't in fact true. So the fact that I said it, the fact that, there's evidence of me making that statement, and it's obviously against my interest to admit, hey, yeah, Kermit loaned me this money, then that would be an exception to the hearsay rule. At this point in time, we don't have any information to indicate that this exception would apply in this case. Next is a statement concerning the declarant's family history. At this point, we have no reason to believe that Rich Homie Quan's family history is at issue, so this exception to the hearsay rule would not apply. And finally, a statement offered against a party who is engaged in some wrongdoing to procure the unavailability of the now unalive witness. So this is the foul play exception. So if there is some proof, the person who this testimony is going to be used against has engaged in some wrongdoing or asked someone else to commit some wrongful act to ensure that the now unalive person could not testify as a witness, then that witness's statements would be admissible at trial. At this point, we have no information, no evidence to suggest that this exception to the hearsay rule would apply. Based upon Rich Homie Quan's unavailability due to his untimely passing and the exceptions that Georgia outlines in terms of the admissibility of hearsay statements for unavailable witnesses, none of the exceptions would apply, and thus the statements would be hearsay without an exception and likely would not be admissible at trial. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, please subscribe, and comment down below if you have other topics that you would like for me to cover or questions that you want to ask. Please leave them down below. Thanks again, and I'll see you in my next one.